Okay, there we are. Good morning or good afternoon, good evening to everybody who's here. Thank you a ton for hanging out with me on your Saturday. Hopefully you can see me and hear me. These are always the checks that I like to do before we get started, at least when I remember. Hopefully we've got good audio and video. Um, the I've got so it's We finally got our first snow the last couple of days. Sound is fine. Awesome. Thank you, Jan. Perfect. Thank you, Vaz. Appreciate you. So we went from like fairly temperate weather up until like a week ago where like even our windshields hadn't frosted yet. And then we got like an inch of snow one day, and by the end of the day it was gone. And then it got real cold, and it dumped a few inches on us the other day. And it's cold out here. So if you can hear the space heater that's basically under my butt behind me, I apologize. But I got to maintain some level of warmth besides just keeping my fingertips out. It is chilly in here this morning. I'm actually looking at a thing I can put under my desk to kind of wrap around my legs. Little heat panel thing that's not noisy. It does this radiant heat thing. I've been looking at that for the last few days, and I think it'll be the solution that I'm looking for, all things considered. So, that's the plan anyway, moving forward, because we got a few more months of being cold here in Colorado, and I want to keep doing these live streams with you guys. So, trying to find a way to accommodate everybody here. Nighthawk, I appreciate that. Duke said, "Wait, did you always have a beard?" Yeah, I did. I haven't been clean shaven in more than a decade. Like going clear back to the hospital. Like I grew out a good beard when I was hospitalized in 16. And I've just kind of kept it since then. It's more manicured today than it has been in a long time. I kind of cleaned it up yesterday, trimmed it down, got my lines back in place. But I know that it's harder to see because it's very white. It's very white for me only being 44 years old. So, I've had the beard for a really long time. Let's see what else we got here. So, there was no video this week. The video that I did, it's kind of a weird process. It's a sponsored piece of content. It's an interesting piece of content, I think. And so I did the whole review process. I wrote a script. I sent the script to the organization who is sponsoring the content, and they're like, "This is good," but because they had some counterpoints to the things that I had said, which I appreciated, and I made sure to include those in the actual video that I recorded after I got approval on the script. So I didn't do like a V2 on getting the script approval because they didn't ask me to. Like they didn't even ask me for a first draft. But I was like, "You guys are paying me. You guys should at least get a say in what's going on here." So, so I sent the script over. They gave me their approval and some rebuttals, and I included those in. Anyway, I got the video done, sent it over to them early this week, and now. And now it'll be like Monday or something before they even have a chance to review it. So no video this week, unfortunately. Kind of sucks. But I guess on the flip side of that, the tablet video that I did the week before is still doing pretty well. So happy with that. Got some interesting comments on that about how better parents would do more to make sure that their kids. Their kids' viewing habits were being closely monitored by both time and content and all of these things. And I was like, bro, he can't use a controller. So I'm giving him access to curated content. But just these people out there that are just like, well, you're stupid because you didn't do it the way I did it, blows my mind, really. That people are so solipsistic that they can't imagine anybody doing anything other than the exact way that they would handle something. Just blows my mind. Let's see. Maybe start with some tea. I've actually got some coffee. Drinking coffee this morning. I've been up since 4:45 because that's when the kid got up and started slamming doors. So yay. Let's see. Vaz says, funny coincidence. I'm in Europe. Same thing happened here. Mid-20s all week. Last 2 days down to 5 degrees. It's December. It's expected. Yeah. Yeah. I was actually getting worried because we hadn't had any snow at all until like a week ago, which is unheard of here in Colorado. Awesome to see the YouTube plaque in the background. Yeah, I'm super, super happy with that. I'm really thankful to have that, in large part to you guys watching my content. Not that this rule applies to everyone, but for the majority, if you're not a parent, don't give out parental advice. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree with that. And just for like, and I feel like it just told me that they didn't watch the video where I was very clear in saying that he doesn't have the fine motor skills to use a remote. So how is he going to do anything else? So it's whatever. It was just one of those things that really got to me. I was like, who are you to tell me that I did something wrong by giving my kid more independence? So it was just one of those, like, get bent. I know that's an old person thing to say, but just, kick rocks or take a long walk off a short pier, whatever you want to say there. Don't try to give me advice on how to raise my kid. So we need both rain and snow here in Oregon. We have a storm rolling through, but way too warm for any snow. Yeah, that's kind of how it's been around here, like in the 40s and 50s up until recently, and then it just fell off quick. So yeah, it'll get through. We'll get through it. Flock off. That's pretty funny. But, it's normal. I'm worried that because winter didn't really hit until December this year, that it's going to last until like November of next year this time. So we'll see. Man, my hair is just doing its own thing today. Collins is here. Yay. Awesome. Glad to see you here, man. It's not just that your child, not that you own them, but you understand your family, not some rando on the internet. Yeah, 100% agree with that. So, in fact, speaking to that, I got notification this morning that the new hardware, I ordered some new hardware after the tablet video went live. That's going to take his Plex thing to a whole new level if I can do it. I think I can do it. It shouldn't be too bad. But I'm excited. I'm excited to get it set up. It's going to give him a lot more freedom and independence to choose, not just to turn on the last show he was watching, but actually go and choose the content that he wants to watch. Again, based off of a selection that I've predefined for him or will predefine for him. I've actually got to go back through his watch list and see what he's been watching recently, so I can make the appropriate adjustments in the code. And build everything and get everything 3D printed and whatnot. What is going on? Oh, that's fine. But yeah, it should be good. I'm really excited about that. Jan, thank you so much for that. Collins, thank you for your encouragement. Appreciate that. Forsaken, no, he cannot speak. He is nonverbal. He can still give us vocal cues about his mood. He's got certain sounds that are happy sounds and certain sounds that are sad sounds or upset sounds or angry sounds or whatever. So no, he said a few things a few times over the years, but for the most part, completely nonverbal. But he does have an old cell phone. I'd originally started with a tablet, but I got tired of replacing those. So he got an old cell phone that that's got an app on it that's it's called Talk Tablet. It's like Pro Loco. If you're familiar with Pro Loco, it's like that, but not like $1,000 for the app. So he's got that. He can communicate with that and tell us what he wants, what he needs, those sorts of things. And that's been working really well for us for the last few years. But we're hoping to, because like when he wants to watch something new, he just comes in and says, I want to watch TV, which is our cue to go help him find a new show. But this plan that I've got, there was actually the recommendation of somebody in the comment section of the tablet video, is going to hopefully open that way up and give him a ton of opportunity to actually go in and for himself be able to choose a new show whenever he wants. within the boundaries of time that I've got his TV on. So he can select from, we'll start with like 10 shows. It'll be a combination of like playlists and movies and those sorts of things. And we'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, then I've got a bunch more options that I can really blow that up and really give him a lot more options. So yeah, giving him independence is really cool. And it's, it's funny. He still comes out and asks if he can turn his light on. But I guess I should back up. So it used to be that his room was on was set up on an automation. So like when it got dark, when the sun set, his light would come on automatically. And he hated that. He hated it so much. So I turned it off. So then I built the tablet situation. I started in his room because that was where it was most important for me to start giving independence and making the house more controllable more easily. So I got that tablet set up, and now he comes out and asks if he can turn his light on, which is funny to me because he's always hated having it on, but now he can. Now that he can be in control of it, he loves it. So, let me see. A question was asked: what shows do you like to watch? If you don't mind me questioning, no, I open book over here. Let me go take a look at activity. Boo. All right, here we go. So this is going to be kind of confusing, I think, because I'll just show you my desktop here. There is our Plex. What? Sorry, I'm getting a ton of notifications this morning. So Lilo and Stitch has been a big deal for him lately, especially Lilo and Stitch 2. Meet the Robinsons, Wreck-It Ralph, Despicable Me, Fern Gully. Those are, you can see 15 plays, 7 plays, 6 plays, 6 plays, 4 plays. That's just been in the last 30 days. Fantastic Four is Me and the Wife. Gen V, Futurama, South Park, That's All Us. He's been loving Animaniacs lately. The original ones, not the reboot, which I find amusing because, I grew up on the Animaniacs, in the 80s and 90s. So for him to go back and love that show as much as his mom and I did back, even now, really love that. But this has just been recently, over the last 30 days. I think if I break this out to the last 90, we can give a look at that. So again, Lilo and Stitch 2, Kung Fu Panda 1 and 2, Meet the Robinsons, Wreck-It Ralph, Despicable Me. Scooby-Doo has been huge for him. He's one episode, season 2, episode 6 of Scooby-Doo. Man, that is 300 plays out of that 457. Just loves Scooby-Doo. So that'll give me an idea of what to write into the code to get these automations going. So if you need support on sourcing hardware, drop a line for sure. I appreciate that, Baz. The stuff that I ordered it's an RFID reader, a kit, and some RFID cards that I ordered. I picked them up off of AliExpress for $15 for everything I needed. It was 50 cards, the reader, and a microcontroller. And it's actually, like I said, it's out for delivery. I ordered it last week, and it's already out for delivery, which I love. Who doesn't love Animaniacs? I agree. Has he watched Fraggle Rock yet? I don't know. I don't even know if we have it, if I'm honest. I should. If we don't, I should get it. We do. We do have Fraggle Rock. I need to make that a playlist for him. I'll have to do that later. But yeah, so I'll have to add that and see if he's interested in that at all. He's addicted to Open Season. That sounds familiar. I don't think I've got it though. No, I don't. But anyway, super excited to get that project done. 50 plus plays. Yeah, that's crazy. Probably integrate Tautili into this so he can build from a longer list of content that he likes, plus giving more variety. Possibly. Here's the thing, though, right? To speak to Nighthawk's point here, he goes through phases, right? So for right now, he's in his Scooby-Doo and Animaniacs phase, which I love. But there was a 2-month period where he would watch the movie Brave 3 times a day, every day, 7 days a week, every day of the week, every day of the month, for like 2 months. And even though he was watching it in his room, I could hear the music, and I don't like the movie anymore. But it's a great movie. It's just hearing it 100 times a month is so much. But we'll see. I'll end up. I'm sure we'll give him lots of options. But I want to start with a small, kind of a what he's currently interested in list of things for him to choose from, so he doesn't get, because he'll get analysis paralysis basically. If you put 10 things in front of him, he'll just slap something in the middle and hope that that's what you ask him to do. So if you give him just a few options and say, which of these do you want, he'll usually pick one of those. So we may have to start with just like 5 things if that's what it takes to get him interested in this idea of being able to start his own shows. But I'm really excited about that process, and getting him kind of trained, I guess, on how to use it. He might like the Smurfs. He might. I don't know. Lots of colors in the Smurfs. So he might. Yeah, the old Smurfs, right? I don't know anything about the new Smurfs. I remember watching the Smurfs when I was a kid, and I think he would enjoy it. I hadn't even thought about that, but I'll have to look that up and see if I can find it. So I guess now that we've been kind of talking about some of this, let's see. Hold on. I went to that with my younger sister. They watched Wizard of Oz and Mary Poppins so much I just can't watch them. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah, and that's exactly it. Starting small and then adding his phases as an option. That's exactly it. So, like I said, I'll start with Scooby-Doo, and some of the movies, Animaniacs. Like, I'll probably start with 5 just so he can kind of get an idea. But here's the thing: I've also got to do like artwork, and print the artwork and get the artwork on these cards. It's going to be a process, but I got to write the code first. So we'll see how it goes, because I don't want to get too far into the weeds only to find out that something has gone off the rails. So, but one of the big questions, the thing that led to this stream being about my home automations, really was the video that I did with the tablets and the automations and how I'm controlling the house with the tablets. And I had a few different people specifically ask about his Plex automation as it currently stands. And I thought it would be kind of fun to look through the automations that I have, and kind of explain what I've got going on, some of my reasoning behind some of it, some of the transitions that I'm making currently, and maybe you guys have got ideas for other things that I could do. I'm all ears about that as well. So we jump over back over to my desktop and come into here. Right, I actually changed these. These were automations. This TV on and TV off. These were automations, but last night I actually switched them from automations to scripts, because they were automations when I first set them up. I originally had one of these Akara FP2 sensors in his bedroom. And basically when he walked in the room, it would detect he was in the room, and then it would go through the process of starting his TV, opening Plex, starting the last thing he had just watched. And then if there was nobody in his room for 5 minutes, then it would run the automation to turn his TV off. But then we got him this big, like, safety bed, because he's such a big, he's like 6 feet tall and 190 pounds, right? Like, he's taller than I am and weighs almost as much as I do. And he's really, really hard on things. So we managed to get him this big safety bed, and it's got like a canopy over it that if he was having a violent outburst, we could zip him in so that nobody gets hurt. Like this is state medical approved. We had to go through a long, rigorous thing to get this bed for him. Mostly we got it because it's a big, beefy bed that will keep him safe. I mean, that's really why we got it, but mostly because he's so hard. We've been through so many bed frames. The chance of him breaking this is next to zero. Not zero, but next to it. The problem is he likes to have the canopy down, and when the canopy is down, these presence sensors can't detect him. So the automations quit working. So I had to come up with a new solution, and that's where the tablet started to come in. But these, like I said earlier, were automations based on the presence sensors. And when I took the presence sensor out, it worked for a while. Because I disabled the actual automations. I could manually trigger them on the dashboard though with these buttons. And that's just kind of how I ran with it for a month, maybe even 2 months. And then after I got the tablets built, these were still automations that were disabled but could still be triggered with the buttons, and that was fine. But I ended up switching these over to being scripts instead of the automation that was dependent on the presence sensors. So I guess we could start there. But let's edit this, and let's actually take a look. So this is I didn't even know you could do this. I used Claude AI to help me build out some of this stuff. And it actually showed me that I could have like 2 cards in one configuration here, which I thought was amazing. I didn't know this was a thing. But yeah, so basically on tap action call service. The service is Gauge TV Start Plex, right? That's what's going on right here when you tap this button. When you tap this button, this action happens, which is just turn Gauge's TV off. That's all they do, right? But of course there are scripts that are running behind the scenes. And these are just the actions that happen or that make them happen, right? So we'll click cancel. We'll go over to here. Hello. Forsaken, you good? So if we come into automations and scenes and go to scripts, here we can see we've got 2. You're good, man. We've got 2 different scripts in here. Again, these were automations that were in this list over here, and I've got a lot of cleaning up to do in here. But basically, if I come into here, like we'll start with this simple one here. Turn Gauge's TV off. Like that's all it does. That's the action. Is it turns the TV off. We can look at the YAML. That's it. Just turn it off. That's all it does. But if we come into this one, we can see this. The sequence is turn the TV on, wait for 3 seconds. Then you're going to switch the media player. Then you're going to wait for 4 seconds, and then you're going to click play. So in this case, the media player is Plex, and you can. My stupid head's in the way. Let's do this. Let's do this YAML. Excuse me. So I was thinking the same cat attack. Played I'm eating in the. Played at the edge of the keyboard. No worries, man. Just glad you're not like having a stroke or something. Would really ruin the vibe. So, glad the noon challenge football game isn't too important. Well, the Joshua D, glad to have you here. So basically, this is the routine or the script or whatever you want to call it to do the automation to turn on Gauge's TV and play the last thing that he was playing. So we've got our alias, we've got our description, our sequence is turn on the device and entity ID. With this is his Roku TV. The domain is remote, enabled is true. And then we're going to wait for 3 seconds. That's our next step is this delay. We're going to delay for 3 seconds, and then we're going to switch the media player on Gauge's TV to this app, which is the app number 13535. I didn't pick it. Media content type is app, title Plex, thumbnail, which is just the TV icon. media player or media class, again, app, children's media class, null, navigate IDs. I don't know what all of this is for, but it's there. Again, Claude AI helped me with this. And then the action is switch to the media player. That's basically what's happening with all of this. Is it's just switching the media player to Plex. And then we've got another delay of 4 seconds, and then we press the play button. And that's really all that automation does. But I had built it out manually this way originally, because I'm still not great with YAML. But I was able to build this out and then look at it and then have Claude AI help me kind of refine it and do the things that I needed to do. Again, I didn't want this to be an automation anymore based on a trigger event like a presence being detected on a device. I wanted it to just be a button press. It made more sense in my brain for it to do that. So that's how that automation works. The kicker to that is that for your devices and services, I had to have Plex Media Server installed in here. I also had to have the Roku association or the Roku integration here as well. So those were both prerequisites to getting this to work. Adding Roku devices, because that's what all of my TVs in the house are. You just put in the host name, and you've got to have in the TV. You've got to go in and allow other remotes, I think, in order for this to work. If you don't have that if you don't have it toggled in the TV if you don't have the toggle on the TV enabled for other remotes, this won't work. So that was the first step, is getting the TVs added, and then also Plex Media Server, getting that added, and then from there I was able to build out that whole automation. Let's see. Hold on. Oops. Don't know if I've got that open. Let's bring that over to here. So somebody said this. I'll do this. Okay. Yeah. So Forsaken actually shared something over here that basically said you can do this for the automation. Not sure how much he can and can't do. And Collins is right. This would be way too much for him. I love this idea of being able to build a tablet remote, because that's basically what you've done here. I think this is amazing. But this would be way too much for him. So thank you for sharing that. But again, I think that would absolutely be too much for him. But I think that's pretty cool that you've built that. So thank you for sharing that, Forsaken. I appreciate it. So yeah, the two prerequisites were, again, Roku and Plex, obviously being in Home Assistant to get that automation to work. I'm going to minimize that. Hold on, I missed something up here. Quiet Association is here. Thanks for joining. Appreciate seeing you here. But DB, AI is bad. Yeah, here's the thing. I think AI can be great for certain things. I just don't rely on it for everything. For helping me troubleshoot code and build YAML files, Claude has been amazing for me. Let's see. Tegan Collier says, my home automation scripts scenes are messy. Some of them work, others don't. And some devices seem to respond to an automation. They're not even part of the device associated with the automation. Bro, I've had stuff like that happen. I'm actually working on an automation for my bedroom. See if I can, let's go over to here and find it. Bedroom, right. So I've got these. So bedroom lamps off. So what was it? Bedroom LEDs dim at 8 p.m. So basically, if there's somebody in the room, the lights will automatically come on. Bedroom lamps on when present. I actually just disabled this last night because I'm working on this one. But basically, when you walk into the room, lights come on. When you leave the room, lights go off. After 6 o'clock, when you come into the room, the lights come on. Like the lamps come on, the LED strips that we've got in there also come on. And if you're in the room for more than a minute, the TV automatically comes on. Let me see if I can find bedroom LEDs. See, this is part of the problem. I've got so many things in here that I need to. Hold on. Hold on. It's got to be in here somewhere. There we go. Bedroom TV on when present after 6. So if the bedroom is occupied and the time is after between 6 p.m. and 12 a.m. And you've been in the room for 30 seconds and the master bedroom TV is off, then the master bedroom TV will come on. I need to, if I don't have this disabled, I need to disable it. I think it's screwing something else up in my bedroom. In fact, I'm going to turn that off. So I've been working on trying to streamline a full automation that happens after 6 p.m. When there's somebody in the room. And it's this. We'll come back to this because I want to see, I've been missing some stuff up here. That Discord was, okay. I was wondering what made you switch from MB to Plex. Yeah, I can, Mirandy. So I started with Plex, and then I had some issues years ago when Plex, their authentication servers were down for like 2 weeks or something, and I couldn't get in to change the setting that would allow me to not need their authentication servers, right? It was, I got caught in this loop. So in order to keep everybody else in the house happy, I switched to MB. And I ran that for a while. I paid for it because I wanted to pay the developers, for creating this app. And then the MB app just started falling off bad. But in the meantime, I'd also made a video about Plex Amp, which is the music streaming like desktop app. So you don't have to have Plex open, you should have Plex Amp open. But in order to get Plex Amp to work, you needed a Plex Pass. So I emailed Plex and I was like, hey, look, I want to make a video about Plex Amp, but I don't have Plex Pass. Can you hook me up with a temporary Plex Pass? And they did, and I made the video and I forgot about it. And I was still using MB at the time. And then MB started having a ton of issues. So I was trying to figure out what to do next. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I'd already been with Plex, but I didn't want to pay them. And I'd had issues before, and I didn't want to jump to Jellyfin because I didn't like the interface. And the apps for my TVs weren't great. And I go, I'll look at Plex again. And then of course, in order to do transcoding and that sort of thing on Plex, even then you had to have a Plex Pass. So I logged into my Plex account just to see what a Plex Pass would cost me. And I realized that they had just comped a lifetime Plex Pass for me. So I switched at that point because it gave me everything I needed. It gave me transcoding. It gave me being able to skip intros and outros of shows. It gave me the ability to stream outside my house. So that's why I ended up switching back from MB back to Plex, was because Plex just gave me everything I needed. Plus, Plex is easier for the average person to deal with. And I've got a couple of people outside my house that sometimes watch my Plex stuff. And it's just easier for them to use Plex versus some other app that nobody's ever heard of. And I know, and when I say nobody's ever heard of, I mean outside of the community, right? If I were to ask my friend in Utah, have you heard of Jellyfin? He'd be like, what is that? Isn't that a fish? And it's not a dig on him. It's just he doesn't know what he doesn't know, and that's fine. Whereas Plex is kind of almost a household name in a broader sense than some of these other apps that we use are. So yeah, that's why I switched. ChatGPT to the rescue. Yep. All in for the AI. Yeah, no, I love using it for certain things. Perplexity Comet browser will take over and improve your dashboard on its own. I've actually got Perplexity Pro and Comet. So maybe I should look into that, Southside Groovin. I would be interested to know what I can do with that. Let's see, did you see the Supreme Court discussing AI theft? I've seen that there's been a lot of conversation about it, but I don't know beyond that what you might be referring to. From my experience with my brother, have controls in multiple steps for better than multi. Yeah, absolutely. And that's like when we started building our kid's phone that he's got his Talk tablet app on. if he presses I want, it will take him to another sub screen where he can select what he wants, whether it's to eat, whether it's to watch TV, whether it's to swing, trampoline, whatever it happens to be. A lot of his conversational stuff on his tablet is built step 1, step 2, step 3, however many steps it takes him to get to where he needs to be. Because having everything on one page is too much. Even I'm not autistic, and it's too much for me sometimes. So love that if anybody's in the room longer than 30 seconds, because we all know we run into the bedroom to find our wallet and then leave. Yeah, typically it's not a big issue here. I used to have it for a minute and I didn't like that, but now I'm having issues. So we got a new TV in our bedroom a few months ago, got a really good deal on it. And I've got an Atmos soundbar thing in our bedroom that's connected via the ARC channel. So it's CEC controlled or ARC controlled or whatever we want to call it. So when I turn the TV on, the soundbar also automatically comes on. But I think that when the automation turns the TV on, it does something different in the background on the TV that doesn't actually send an audio channel to the soundbar. So I've got to manually go over and reboot the soundbar about every other day if the TV turns on automatically. So that's why I turned that off a minute ago. Blitzcloud says, hello, glad to have you here. Automations are such a pain in the ass. They absolutely can be. See, Tegan says, I need to buy some presence motion sensors. I think they make some of my automations simpler and give me so many more automations. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I really like, I've had a lot of issues with the Akaras, but when they work really well. This will also do things like determine how many people are in the room. It will determine how bright the room is. So if it's the middle of the day, it will tell you, your lux is 10, right? That's the luminance. It'll be, like your lux is 10. So you can say, well, look, if it's less than 5, then turn the lights on. But if it's over 5, I'm good. So you can build automations based on how many people are in the room, whether the room is occupied or not, how bright the room is. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with these that I love. Though I've had some issues with a couple of them. Oh, let's see. Plex is awesome, but Plex probably 15 years ago. Yeah, I love Plex these days. I feel like MB is a distant third. Yeah. I think MB is being actively developed. MB GitHub. Oh, wait. Sorry, I thought I saw something here that said MB is no longer open source, but that was a couple of years ago. Weird. Anyway, I don't know. I would guess it's still being done. See, Andrew says, a bit of specific question. Do you know how I could use a button that exposes left, rotate right, and presses to switch between the device it controls in the brightness state of Home Assistant? I do not. I wish I did. I don't know that I've actually ever run into a situation like that. I mean, the device would have to be somehow compatible with Home Assistant to be able to recognize those things. But I think, like, if you look at like what Forsaken shared, let me bring this back up. If the device is Home Assistant compatible, you should be able, in theory, to build something like this with that device's interface, as long as it's compatible with what you're trying to do there. This is really off topic, but we encountered this issue on our most recent video and wanted to pick your brain. If you know for sure if an application if you know for sure an application is made from China, what is your policy about showing it off? But the application is really interesting. So I actually did that. Like when I did SafeLine, the web application firewall SafeLine. we actually talked about SafeLine last week a little bit with regards to like their licensing practices as far as pricing and that sort of thing. So I try to be careful with those, right? I try to, because there's been a couple of these that I've run into, and I try to be as careful as I can, because here's the thing, right? People will often, I don't know if it's racism, I don't know if it's an overabundance of caution, I don't know if it's legitimate caution, right? But there are so many people out there these days who are quick to group everybody from a region or a color of skin or whatever into these groups. So when that happens, we get this thing called racism. And I know you guys are aware of this, but what I mean is, oh, well, that app was made in China, so it's bad. It's going to track you. It's going to do all these bad things. Well, guess what? Your monitor, your keyboard, your computer, all of the things in your computer, your cell phone, your tablet, parts of your car, all of those things are also made in China, right? So I always try to call out, look, this is a Chinese-based thing, but I try not to let that taint my perspective of the app unless I can genuinely see a problem with it, like I did with SafeLine. My problem with SafeLine was the abhorrent cost that they wanted to inflict on their users of like $100 a month or $1,000 a year, no matter what you were doing with it. And I thought that was outlandish. But there have been other apps in the past that have been very clearly of Chinese origin, and I try to make sure that I acknowledge that so that people are aware. So I have to be careful about when I make the statement that that's where it's from. Like in the SafeLine app, that was like a 25-minute video, and I don't think I mentioned that it was a Chinese app until about 22 minutes in, because there's a lot of things about the app that I liked, and I wanted to showcase those things. But then from there, I was like, okay, look, here's the thing though, and I kind of went into some of the issues that I had with it being based in China, because working with Collins and Nighthawk, and others behind the scenes, we noticed that there was data being sent to Chinese servers. When I called SafeLine out on that, they were very adamant that these were just analytics, anonymized analytics, looking for error codes and those sorts of things so that they could help better fix the app. Whether that's true or not, I can't be 100% because I don't know what data was being sent, because it was being sent on an encrypted channel. So I try to be careful about those things. I try to acknowledge those things. If something's too sketchy, I won't touch it. But it's everybody's going to do things a little bit differently. So, yeah, I hope that helps answer your question a little bit. You just got to have a good prompt for comment, like improve this button UI for mobile using card. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Southside Groove, and I appreciate that. Subpanels are your friends for nested controls, an easy back button. Just add a new page and call it a subpanel. Oh, that's good to know. NB is being actively developed. That's good. Currently struggling to move from TradFi bulbs from hue to cat brain text, having some issues with light bulbs. Yeah, I actually switched all of my smart bulbs recently to Third Reality Zigbee bulbs, and I love them. Scarlett says the xenophobia is an issue. Yeah. Oh yeah, actually, I did a video on CloudDrive a while back. I don't remember when I did it, but I think I called that one out too. Oops, hold on, I didn't spell it right. Oh no, we did a live stream in September about CloudDrive. That's what it was. And I think we talked about some of those issues there as well. Lots of great people in China and everybody else. My concern is that the Chinese government, Swiss storage for some things, because even you're not wrong, Joshua. I have heard, and I can't verify this myself, but I have heard through multiple sources that the Chinese companies are under government obligation to collect as much data from outside the Great Firewall as they possibly can, through whatever means necessary. I don't know how accurate that is, but I've heard that, and I think that is something other people have heard, and that's why there's definitely some skepticism about those sorts of things. Alex, thank you. I appreciate that, Alex. No, we were just talking about xenophobia and racism across the world. That's all you missed. No, we were talking about Chinese apps, and covering covering apps when we know that they come from Chinese origin, and some of the things that you've got to be aware of when covering those apps as a content creator, because we don't know necessarily what kind of data they might be collecting, those sorts of things. Yeah, keeping it light, absolutely. That's sometimes we have these moments here in the live streams, and it's something that I really look forward to because it's an interesting topic to me, and I think to a lot of you guys out there as well. Not necessarily xenophobia and racism, but deeper conversations about the underlying things going on in the world that still are directly affected by tech, or that directly affect tech, rather. Right now, of course, the big thing that everybody's up in arms with is RAM pricing, right? Like, I want to see this. Yeah, like, like 64 gigs of DDR5 for $800. And then, of course, to help the situation, Micron is shutting down Crucial end of Q1 next year, I believe, so that Micron can focus more on selling directly to AI companies. But this is sick. This is awful. No, you're good. You're not killing the vibe, man. Not at all. I think it's good to have these kinds of conversations, because there's a lot of people out there who may not know what's going on, or are afraid to ask. And I will do my best to answer a question, and if I don't know, I'll tell you. I'm not somebody who's going to try to BS anything, or I will qualify with, this is what I've heard. I don't know if I necessarily believe it or whatever, but I've heard these things. So, so happy about a 16 gig Raspberry Pi 5 before the prices went up. I don't blame you, man. I'm giving up 2 MSO1s because I got some new hardware. I need to scavenge the RAM. Yeah. Alex, I didn't see Gamers Nexus take on this. I haven't watched a lot of Gamers Nexus stuff in a while. But I believe it. He does really good at investigative journalist stuff. So Jay has been saying kind of the same thing as far as the era of personal computing is under threat. Because it's not just RAM chips, it's also storage chips for SSDs and M.2s, NVMEs, whatever you want to call them. It's because Sam Altman bought like 40% of the world's collective bargaining chips with regards to the production of those things, because he could, so that he can keep building data centers and making the world potentially a worse place. And of course, everybody's trying to leapfrog everybody with their AI capabilities. Sora 2 came out, I think, recently, or just Sora in general. We can lump it all together as far as I'm concerned. And now we've got entire channels and social media accounts that just dedicated to creating AI slop. And it just blows me away that these platforms aren't doing anything to make creators identify that it's AI. YouTube is trying, but they're not enforcing it. And unfinished wafers. Yep, you're absolutely right. it's, and part of the problem is that AI is getting so good at generating things, believable AI nonsense, that it's often hard to tell what's real and what's not. And when you go back and you look at the original Will Smith eating spaghetti original, was 2023. Oops, there we go. No, this video was 2 years ago, and of course we didn't believe this. And here we are 2 years later, and in March of 2023. Yep. And now here we are about almost 3 years later, and it's hard to tell sometimes what's AI and what's not. And before long, I mean, things are going to go bad, and things are going to go real bad, I think, here before too long, and nobody's going to be able to trust anything. AI bubble, I don't like, people keep throwing around the AI bubble thing. I don't know. I would like to think that it would be, but I don't. But I don't know that it's going to be, the housing crisis of 2008 type bubble. I don't think it's going to be the .com bubble that we saw in the early 2000s. I don't think it's going to be that kind of bubble. I think what's going to happen is that it's going to keep getting worse, and I think there will be certain content creators that if they're diligent can weather the storm. I don't know if I'll be one of them, but because eventually people are going to get so tired of looking at AI slop that they're going to be desperate to have connections with real people again. Linus was talking about that on a podcast interview thing he did a while back that I watched. That was actually pretty good. And I know others have talked about it as well, but I really do believe that before too long, look, we're always going to have our people that are going to want their Chat GPT relationships, because they're always available. They never say no. They don't expect anything in response. It's a one-sided relationship, and there's always going to be a market for that kind of thing for certain people. But I think the majority of people are going to miss actual human interaction and actual the human element of a product review. I can go grab a couple of blog posts and a media post and a storefront post about a product and say, hey, ChatGPT, I need 1,000-word review that's conversational and entertaining and fun, but it needs to be a review about this product. And it will do a very good job about that. But the problem is that it can't tell you, like, how hard is it to get this open, right? And this was one of the things that Linus brought up in his interview that he did recently. They can't tell you the minutia of using the product. They can say it was reviewed very well, but it can't actually give you the hands-on experience as much as humans can. And I think people are going to want that back at some point. We'll see what happens, but I hope that. I think the big problem right now is it's new and it's exciting and it's moving so very fast that if you're not aware of what's going on, you're going to get left behind and you're going to be left in the dark and you're not going to know what's real. But I think eventually the newness will wear off, and I think people will be like, okay, that was fun. What's next? And what's next scares me too, because I don't know what it is. Let's see, the best take on the AI bubble that I've heard, according to Joshua D23, is that we're in an LLM bubble, not an AI bubble. Smaller purpose-built AI will keep growing, but big centralized AI will diminish. I kind of agree with that. One of the problems I've seen people talking about is they've trained on absolutely everything they can, and now they're thinking about having AI create training data for AI. And I think that's going to go poorly if that happens. Again, it's stuff that I've read. I don't know if it's true. I'm not an insider, and I don't have an insider available to tell me that. But I've seen people talking about they've run out of training data and they're going to use AI to create more training data for future AI. It is a bubble, but if the bros and governments keep helping, who knows how long it will last. There's that too. AI, love robots are next. How do I invest, right? The next thing after AI is AI and robots. That's already a thing. There are already AI robots, not good ones yet, mind you, but I've seen them. And again, the problem with the AI robots, at least in the current phase, is that they're expensive, right? Like I saw one recently that I think was like 20 grand, and it was like human sized and could like go around, pick up stuff around your house, bring you things that you need, those sorts of things. Kind of like a live-in butler that runs on Chat GPT or Gemini or whoever controls it. But it's 20 grand. And most people can't afford a $500 emergency in America anyway. So for them to have 20 grand laying around to buy an AI robot, I think it's going to be a very niche product for a very, very niche group of people. So I don't know how long it will be before we've got that sort of thing for us peasants down here outside of vacuum cleaners. Synthetic data is pretty cool, but it's not much for training over generalized knowledge. Let's see, there's some Chinese robots already out, but the Tesla Optimus is the big robot build out. I don't know. I think maybe I've seen the Optimus. I don't know. Tesla. Oh, if I could type Tesla Optimus. Masters, human-like smooth running. Is there a video? Allow once. I don't know if it's gonna. Oh, so like this is the Optimus running. That's actually, I mean, as far as being smooth, I'll absolutely say it is. That's pretty impressive. Let's see what this one does. Well, yeah. Tesla Optimus robot, incredible progress only after 2.5 years. I mean, I don't know if I would call that a huge improvement from walking to. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, right? But quantum computing and AI, something big may come. Yeah, if they can get quantum computing on a more manageable level that doesn't require such cold temperatures, and I know that there have been a few that have managed to do it more at room temperature versus isolated testing facilities of, sub-zero temps and that sort of thing. So I think it's going to be a while before all of that is ready to go. But yeah. I think I'd rather talk to and listen to Home Assistant than AI. Yeah, that's fair. I've actually got after I did the tablet video last week, I guess I'd mentioned possibly bringing out the Home Assistant Voice PE that I did videos on a while back, earlier this year, I think. And I've implemented the one that I had in the living room, and I got the little one from Seed Studio. This is part of it. In fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I wanted to look at this. Yeah. Last week we were talking about the Seed Studio version of the Home Assistant Voice. The ReSpeaker Lite. Which is basically this little device right here. And somebody had mentioned having an issue about ripping the pads off of it. And that's I had that same thing happen. I'd forgot about it. But yeah, I had to resolder the the speaker pads back on at one point because I tried to pull it, it wouldn't come loose, and it just ripped the whole thing off. Luckily, I'm not a terrible solderer, so I was able to get it back together, but I'd forgotten about that until after you'd mentioned it. Let's see. Ocean draining time. Yeah. Now, if those robots started fixing the trucks, that would be impressive. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how much under the hood coding was involved in getting them to go from walking kind of like a toddler to running smoothly. I don't know what all went into that. So I know I was kind of dismissive about that video in 2.5 years. As far as that element was concerned, but I don't know what went on behind the scenes because I'm not a decoder, I'm not a developer, I'm not a roboticist, not any of those things. So, let's see. When you think back on 2025, what are the things that'll stand out for you? Man, sorry, I got a bit of a runny nose. That's a big question. When you think back on 2025, what are the things that'll stand out for you? Man. I think part of it will be that. I mean, that one was pretty big for me, and I know that's a very selfish thing, but that's, that was a big milestone for me. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of things, but I don't know. I guess I don't know in what I don't necessarily know what you're leaning towards here as far as in what arena of thinking. Like, part of it, I think part of it will be, I mean, even besides that, like, I think adding the tablets and the Plex stuff that I'm doing for the kid will stand out as a big one for me because it gave the kid more independence, and he gets real excited about being able to do the things that I've given him access to do so far. I think part of the and I think the big rise of AI. I think the tech issues that we've had, the pricing issues that we've had, I think there's been. I think the problem that I have with answering that question, and I'm not trying to be evasive here, is that the last couple of years, so much has happened. Whether it's politically or globally, economically, both on a microcosm and a macrocosm scale, so many things have happened. Whether it's a financial recession, or the island that we shall not speak of, or all of the things associated with that. The tariffs that are decimating people's livelihoods, wiping out savings accounts. There's so many things that have happened that everything happens in 24-hour news cycles, it seems, and it's hard to grasp a hold of any of it. It's hard to. I think it's hard for me to say what will stand out. So that's kind of why I was asking for you to be a bit more concise in your question there, because there's so many things. Let's see. XS6 says hello, DB and everyone. Glad to have you here. Other big robot companies have spent 16 years to get almost to the same level. That's fair. Personally, like, if I got married, would be one for some people. Absolutely. I got married almost 10 years ago now. May 8th will be my 10-year anniversary. Yeah, I don't know. There's just so many things have happened over this year. But I'm not sure. There's a lot would stand out. Tell us 83 says, what is the problems you want to solve the most for you and your family? Time. Time is a big one for us. So, like we've been kind of talking about off and on throughout this stream, our kid has autism, is autistic, however you want to word that. I know some people are sensitive about that kind of thing, but and as a result of that, he spends a lot of time. So he doesn't go to school like you would think. He goes to therapy 5 days a week. Excuse me. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, he goes to therapy from 9 until noon. And then after that, Tuesday and Wednesday, a therapist comes into our house, and we do things in the house to help him generalize the things that they've been working on in the therapy center. Then Thursday and Friday are longer days, more school length days. So one of the issues that we have is, like, my wife and I don't get enough time together, just the two of us. That's a problem I would like to solve, and we're working on that. One of the other issues we've got is he's about to turn 18, so that's a whole other bag of worms that we've got to start digging into. So there's a lot of family stuff that I would like to solve over the next little bit that we're going to be forced to here pretty soon. But in the interim, I'm doing what I can around the house to make our lives easier and less, so that we're less up each other's butts all the time, because we're constantly in each other's way to a certain degree while we're working together on things. We live in a very small house, so it's hard to not get in each other's way. So we're working on things to help alleviate some of that sort of thing. And that's why I've been focusing so much on Home Assistant recently, honestly, to kind of segue back in. And it's why I'm really excited about this new thing that's out for delivery today. Because if he wants to watch something different, he has to come get our help, and I'm hopefully going to be able to fix that soon. So we got lots of people dating Chat GPT. That's pretty funny. There's an app that's part of the Alaris ecosystem that basically lets you create a virtual version of yourself that can then go out and interact with virtual versions that other people have created of themselves in this little like social media ecosphere thing. And I can't remember what it's called, that I thought was kind of interesting. I can't think of what it was called, but it was an interesting idea. But it was definitely one of those, like instructions not clear, wound up sitting on a duck instead kind of things. Like, no idea how to get it set up, no idea which AI features it needed, and I didn't spend a lot more time in it. But it was an interesting idea. It was kind of like what was that thing that you could do? It was kind of like virtual reality of sorts. It's been years and years ago, where like you could. It was like a virtual life. It wasn't The Sims. It was like The Sims, but with real people, though, and I can't think of what it was called. Wonder if Meta will ever rename themselves and admit defeat. You think they have accountability? I don't think Meta will ever admit defeat. I think they will pivot and do something else. But Zuckerberg seems real set on getting the metaverse to be a thing in some capacity. And I don't know. Did they just lower the budget? Good, I guess. It wasn't Replica, no. So where you VR talking to people. I'm trying to see if I can find it, because it wasn't really a game. Maybe it was Second Life. I was thinking Second Life, but that also sounded like but I think I was getting that in my brain also confused with Half-Life. So Second Life is what it was. You're right. Are you an introvert? Why not let AI be sociable virtually for you with your likeness and character? And that's kind of what this AI thing that was on Alaris that I saw was, where you could build this profile and upload pictures and give it your memories and like basically use it like a diary of sorts and upload information about yourself, and then go socialize with other people who had done the same. And that's a little terrifying. I mean, if you can get ChatGPT to teach you how to make country-destroying explosives by reciting poetry to it, look that up. Then I don't want that much of myself being out on its own without me monitoring it. Like, that's because I feel like somebody could recite poetry to that and find more information about me than I would want them to. So yeah, that was kind of why while I was intrigued, I wasn't about to actually just let loose with it and see what would happen. So yeah, so that was a thing. Let's see. So let's see. So like I mentioned earlier, a part of what I'm trying to do in Home Assistant is streamline some things and consolidate some things and have fewer things overlapping in some of my automations. And so like come back over here real quick. Bedroom lamps on when present, right? When the presence detector notices somebody's in the room and the luminance is below 200, then and the time is between 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. basically, then turn on the lamps. But also, when the room is empty and it's between this time, then turn off the lamps. But if it's after this time, if it's after, like 6 o'clock, bedroom LEDs on when present after 6 o'clock, right? So I've got all of these different things kind of out there in separate automations. And so what I've been trying to do is consolidate some of those. Because then also I've got bedroom LEDs dim. So it's the LEDs and our lamps dim at 8 o'clock and then turn off at 8:30. That's this other one up here. So I've been, again, working with Claude to help me build this, which is very much all of those things kind of compacted into one. So if it's occupied or not occupied, these are both basically conditions. And these times are also conditions. And if it's between basically this time and this time, then choose one of these options. And so I'm working out how to get all of this kind of into one automation so I don't have as many things overlapping. And this one's getting kind of lengthy, but it's also helping me understand more about how to write these YAML files in a way that makes sense. I've always been good at reverse engineering code, at least to a certain degree once I understand it. But I've never been good at actually writing code from a blank page. So I've been trying to build this out a little bit with this version of the builder and with AI, so that I can learn more about how to build and tweak these things to my needs when I need to. Let's see. Tellus says, I think you have a wonderful community. I agree. I think you guys are awesome. Even the people that aren't here, even the people who are just kind of lurking, I really think we've got a great community here. I love it. What do you like to help us with? No shame in asking for help to solve some ideas you have. One of the issues, and I think we talked about this a little bit last week, one of the issues that I've been having is, I don't know how to even put it. So when I started making content, when I first started making content on my channel, I wanted to be the next Linus or Jay's 2 Cents or whatever. But what I learned through creating content and being an online personality of even on a micro scale is that I'm not necessarily an entertaining person the same way they are. And I think part of that is my personality type. I'm very aware of the personality type that I have. I can be off-putting. I know that. It's something I've struggled with most of my life. On the flip side of that, Jay and Linus and all of these creators that I wanted to strive to be, I also almost always got somebody else either behind the camera shooting them, or they've got somebody that they're talking to while they're making their video. So it's easier, I think, in those situations to be entertaining and likable and those sorts of things, right? Whereas if I'm just talking to the camera doesn't give me a reaction. And it's hard for me to judge then, did the joke land? Did the little wink, wink, nudge, nudge land? And I think that's part of my problem, is that the content that I create in the grand scheme of things over the last couple of years has been very focused on just putting out content that I think people might be interested in, or, and I'm going to admit this to you guys, content that I have to put out to keep the algorithm thinking that I'm relevant. Because there's been plenty of content that I've put out over the last couple of years that I was just like, I have to put something out this week or YouTube is going to penalize me, because that's how YouTube works. But one of the things that I've noticed over the past few months is that, and I think maybe I can even show you guys some of this. Let me come over to my content. Right, there's nothing really in here that you guys can't see. So this this Home Assistant Magic, the one with the tablets, right? The one we did a couple of weeks ago, 19,000 views. That kind of pissed me off, if I'm being honest. And the reason for that was because it was a last-minute video, right? I didn't know what video I was going to put out. I didn't know, because I couldn't find an app that intrigued me enough to put out for you guys. And I was like, okay, well, let's make the best of a bad situation. Right, so I made this video. This was a throwaway video. Like, this was kind of a low effort video for me. Like, not building the tablets and that sort of thing, but just like, I got to put something out. This might hit. I don't know. So I wrote out my script and I read it, and I was upset. I didn't like the flow of it. It didn't solve a problem for anybody. So I used Claude AI to help me restructure it and that sort of thing, right? And this video is done very well for my channel, almost 20,000 views in 10 days, right? The Alaris one actually did better than I thought it would at 6,200 views. I figured I'd get 3,000 and that would be it. Jerniv, this one made me sad. And the reason I'm showing you these things, right, is that I've been approaching my content wrong, and I'm starting to realize that finally. I've been trying to make content consistently to stay relevant as far as YouTube is concerned, right? So I try to put out a video a week. This week I didn't get one because of things out of my control. Like, what hardware am I running my Homelab? That video didn't do as well as I thought it would. This video doesn't surprise me at all. The smart lock video doesn't surprise me. It didn't do 500 views. Doesn't surprise me. But basically what I've found, like this top 5 apps in my Homelab, that video did pretty well, 20,000 views, right? And I've got these hit and miss videos, and I often find it hard to decide what I'm going to make content about, and I never know how well the video is going to do. Again, the Journev app, which is a journaling app, I didn't think it would do well for a lot of reasons, and it didn't, and I'm not surprised. But I've found that like here, what I run in my Homelab did really well on my channel. Post did pretty well on the channel because it solved a problem for people outside of the initial our little microcosm of content viewers here, right? Like not everybody in our community makes content or wants or needs to manage multiple social media profiles. So this one kind of surprised me that it did this well. And rather than just making content about whatever app I seem to find, I've discovered that I need to solve a problem. And I know that's kind of a, well, no shit. Like, but I feel like for a while, I've just been kind of going through the motions. And I need to spend more time figuring out what problems I can solve, whether they're my problems or problems you guys have brought to me with your Homelab, with your apps, with your self-hosting setup, whatever, right? I need to be more problem-solving focused in my content approach because those are the videos that seem to do the best. Collins, thank you for that. That was really nice. I appreciate you gifting 5 memberships. That was really nice. So I think that's, and I know that doesn't answer your question, but that's the struggle that I've been having lately is finding problems to solve. And because it's only been a fairly recent thing in my brain that I need to do that because those videos seem to do the best. But more than that, like if we come over, we actually come back over to here, right? Like Home Assistant and Olama, right? Home Assistant Voice PE. Both of those videos did pretty well. The video before it did pretty well. Hell, even the video before that did pretty well, right? 19,000 views, 17,000 views, 23,000 views, 37,000 views, right? So I feel like I need to be making tutorial videos or demonstrative videos about different apps and those sorts of things. But it seems to me that the videos that are more like, hey, check out this cool thing I figured out, is more likely to get better views and retention and in turn, obviously, from AdSense or channel memberships or YouTube Premium or whatever, also pay me more money. And as much as a dirty word as that seems to be, this is how I pay my bills, right? Or at least part of how I pay my bills. So I have to start looking at not just pumping out a video every week, like I have been, kind of again going through the motions. I have to find ways to solve problems or ways to tell a story that helped me or helped someone else close to me, right? I've got to find a way to tell those stories. And I think that's one of the problems that I've struggled with for a long time is I am not good at linear storytelling, as you've seen in my live streams. So that's the problem that I'm working on. Oh, Vaz, thank you. Thank you for gifting another 5 memberships. That's really nice. So that's what I'm working on kind of behind the scenes is figuring out how I can find a problem, figure out how to fix it, figure out how to tell a story about how I fixed it and what the problem was, make that into a script, and then portray that on camera. And that again has only really been a realization to me recently, because I've spent so long pigeonholing myself into I'm the Docker container tutorial guy. That's what I've been doing for like 6 years now in some capacity. But I found recently that those videos don't do as well in the grander scheme of things. If I can find a way to solve a problem, tell a story, and and share part of that with you guys, whether it's just you guys here in the stream or a wider audience that also finds that's kind of, I think, my approach finishing out this year and leading into the new year, is try to find a problem. Whether it's a big problem, a small problem, an inconvenience, whatever, right? And figure out how I can make content about that. And sometimes that sucks. Sometimes I just want to fix a problem and move on with my life. But as a content creator, I've got to look for opportunities to monetize those things. And it's a dumb problem I've put myself in for a long time. Is that I've pigeonholed myself into being the Docker tutorial container guy. And I've got to branch out, and I've got to find ways that I can, again, find a problem, tell a story, and share that in such a way that is, whether it's entertaining or heartwarming or touching, or gives you guys an opportunity to think, oh, I could do something similar to that and fix a problem for myself, right? That's kind of the new approach I have to take. And I wish I hadn't been up my butt so long for so long about being the Docker container tutorial guy, because I was real sad about that for a while, if I'm being honest. I want to do more tutorials about different things. I want to share different things that aren't necessarily tutorials. And I think over the past several months, I've proven to myself that I can do those things if I allow myself to think about what I'm doing in those terms. And that's been kind of an eye-opening thing for me over the past couple of months. Sorry, I got to scroll back up. I missed some stuff up here. Nighthawk said, yeah, we need to work with you to consolidate your automations by using trigger IDs and organizing them a little better. Yeah, 100%. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Southside Grooven says, I would scream DB Tech if I saw you in Macy's or something, but I would watch you over LTT or J2 Cents any every day. You're more real. I appreciate that. And that's something I've struggled with, is sometimes I'm too real, if that's even a thing. And I even sound like I feel like a douche for even having said that. But sometimes I show my panic. I show my frustration. I show my inner thoughts too much, and that puts some people off. But it's something that I'm working on. Now that my brain's doing a little better, and has been for several months, I feel like I've got more opportunity to look at those things. In fact, I'm in the process of swapping some things around. Like, once I'm done with this live stream, I managed to get Windows 11 installed on the Alaris, and it's awesome. So I'm going to go kind of rearrange my setup in there to have that be my new daily. Will be the Alaris. See, Miranda says, just my personal opinion, but personally, I don't find Linus likable. Sorry, Linus. I like Luke and Emily. Yeah, I like Luke and Emily too. I like Linus. I think part of the problem with Linus, if I can even say the problem, is he wears so many hats. Husband, father, business owner, entrepreneur, creative, whatever silly title he gave himself when they hired the new CEO, the chief creative officer, or whatever. He tries to do so many things that I think part of the time he's just stretched really thin. And I know what that feels like, and it can be a lot. And he monetizes every aspect of his life to a degree that I wouldn't be necessarily that comfortable with. But it's worked really well for him. And honestly, I don't know if I'd want to hang out with him, because I would feel overwhelmed, I think. But he's made himself a real good living. DB Raw, yeah. Let's see. Seen a small handful of other channels on YouTube doing a similar thing, and it makes a lot of sense. That's what I'm trying to do, is try to make this more approachable to more people. Continue to grow the channel and the community, and bring people in that might not have thought about what they could do. It's never good to pigeonhole yourself into one thing, and I've been doing it for so long. At the end of all of this, it's a passion that you've created a business from. You have a brand that's intimately true to yourself, and that's hard to shift from. And that's true, Collins. And it's not to say that you're not going to continue to be true to who you are, your morals, ethics, etc. But you showing that vulnerability is very appealing to others, and I'd argue that it's a larger group. I hope so. I hope so. And again, it's finding that balance, because like the numbers affect me, right? Like the numbers affect me more than they should, but less than they used to, right? I feel like I'm in a good place where I'm spending less time looking at the numbers overall, and I'm more focused on trying to produce content that I'm interested in. But I know that in my moments of sharing my vulnerability, I'm going to lose people, right? I'm going to lose people, and I've seen that over and over and over again. And what I've tried to start helping or what I've tried to tell myself overall is that's fine. If those people only want to watch the Docker tutorials, that's fine. They can do that. If they're not interested in who I am as a person, that's fine as well. And that actually kind of comes full circle back to what I was trying to get at when I had mentioned earlier that when I first started, I wanted to be like Linus, or Jay's 2 Cents, or Kyle Bitwit, or Awesome Sauce, but he used to go by. I wanted the content to be, I wanted the people watching my content to not just be interested in the content. I wanted them to be interested in me as a person. I wanted to stroke my own ego. That's ultimately what it was. I wanted people to be interested in David, the person behind DB Tech, just as much, if not more, than the Docker tutorials. But what I found is by doing only the Docker tutorials and only sticking to the Docker tutorials, that I wasn't allowing this person to come out. And that's something I've been working on, right? Because people would very often, when I would try to impose myself into the video about like, I liked this or I didn't like that about this, or like, we don't care about your opinion, just show us what to do. The comments I would legitimately get, like, you talk too much, get to the point. And that hurt my feelings, right? Like, it hurt my feelings a lot. And it took me a long time to recover from that, longer than I would care to admit. And I think part of that is I've had a lot of ADHD content showing up in my feeds lately. And apparently people who have ADHD, whether it's the hyperactivity or the attention deficit or both, because it's all been lumped into one, are apparently more sensitive to rejection than your average person happens to be. And I always thought that was a me issue, and maybe it still is to a certain degree. But those comments were always very, very hurtful to me, and I don't think they were meant to be. Obviously, some of them were. But I've been learning to let those things slide more. And if somebody leaves a comment like, you talk too much, I'm like, yeah, I do. I do talk, and that's part of who I am. It's part of what my content is. If you don't like that, then go find another creator that you do like and go watch their content about this topic that they probably haven't covered, because I've made so many videos about Docker and self-hosting and Docker containers and those sorts of things, right? So I've been trying to let my personality come out more in my content. And I think there will be more of that coming up. I think there will be content about, like what's my daily driver situation? What is my streaming situation? I think there will be more content about the things that I actually use in my day-to-day life. And I think part of that will be just to create more relatable content to a certain degree, but also to get your guys' input, because like, this is a disaster. Like what you guys can't see, like this back here is organized chaos. What you can't see is a disaster. So I want to create more relatable content that's about me, that's about how I handle whether it's my gaming setup or my streaming setup or whatever. Let's see. The first video I was watching was the one with Casa OS. If you'll finally a guide for the normal user like me, not a complex, and I can get started with some Homelab stuff. Yeah, Jan, that was. I really liked Casa OS when I first found it. I thought it was amazing. I've kind of strayed away from it since then, but I think it's a great product for people who are getting into self-hosting. Thank you for your videos. They helped me a lot, especially the Cloudflare stuff. Great. I'm really glad that those helped. We need to understand the concept, then we get to the point. Yeah, I'm not a YouTuber, but for me, the title that you want to solve or have solve a problem makes me interested in a live stream, either to help me learn something. Yeah, and that's another thing that I struggle with a lot, if I'm being completely honest, is titles and thumbnails, right? Like I see these people that, like Paul Hibbert, does a lot of really cool self-hosting, or not self-hosting, but like home automation and home assistant stuff. And his titles would be Goodbye Alexa. I have a hard time making titles like that. And I respect the crap out of people who do that. But for me, because of my little flavor of neurodiversity, the title has to say what the video is about, right? He does a good job of often mixing the title and the thumbnail so that they work together. But I have a hard time with the title not explaining what the video is. Because I want to know what I'm getting into before I get into it, and that's something I struggle with, is title and thumbnail. Making them engaging enough to invoke curiosity is something I struggle with a lot, because I'm not that kind of creative. I never have been. Every once in a while I get lucky. But for the most part, I really struggle with title and thumbnail to be intriguing enough to get the click, but on the point enough to let people know what they're getting into. I struggle a lot with that. Let's see. Nano says, I don't talk so much in this things. I also talk too much. Yeah. Mental says, I like your talk. Thank you. I only watch DB Tech because he has a manual car represent. Absolutely, man. I plan on driving a manual car for as long as I possibly can. I love being in tune with my car at all times. Alexia Hamandi says, I like your videos because you give your opinion on things emerging from lurking. Well, I'm glad you've been here for a while. Creative make messes. Yeah, absolutely. Creatives make messes. I do a lot of stacking of things, but I always know where things are, except for my keys. I actually got a tile keychain so that I can beep my keys and find out where they are. My home office looks like a bomb exploded. Yeah. Disaster is my middle name. Yep. Clickbait titles and thumbnails, no thanks. And I struggle with that a lot. I always say automatics for people with only one leg. That's pretty funny. That's pretty good. Here's the thing though. Yeah. When I was 17, I lived in a very small town in rural Idaho, and I got run over by a logging truck, which I know sounds like a BS statement, but it's 100% true. I made the local paper for it. I was riding my bike through town, and I looked over my right shoulder to see if there was traffic, because I heard somebody yell, and a logging truck came around the corner, and I went under the trailer, hit me from the legs down. I got real lucky. There's a lot of things at play that I didn't get nearly as hurt as I should have, but I had to go to a doctor's appointment after the fact. And as a result, I couldn't ride my bike. My knee was the size of my head, and I've got a big head. So I had to go to a doctor's appointment, but the only vehicle that was available for me to get to the doctor's appointment, because nobody else was around to drive me there, was my grandfather's Ford F-150 that was a 5-speed manual. And I'll be damned if I didn't drive that 5-speed manual truck with just my right leg. Clutch, brake, gas, the whole bit. 5-speed manual with just one leg. It can be done if you've got a lot of patience. So I think I'm in the dashboard for only network and port firewalls like Docker Network. Working on now for a month, but still, geez. You get lazy when you have an automatic. I agree with that. I smell a Discord meme. Yeah, that's pretty funny. It is skills. I learned to drive a manual when I was 12, and that's just because my dad and his girlfriend at the time were raging alcoholics, and they needed a designated driver. And the only car we had at the time was an '84 Ford Escort. So that's what I learned to drive a manual in. But I learned when I was 12. So, so yeah, I've always loved driving a manual. It was one of the big selling points. Even though my car is just a Kia, it's a 5-speed, and I love it. Was that power steering? In the F-150, it had to have had power steering. I know the clutch was real stiff though, and that's what was the hard part. Nano says, "Is that a Mac Mini up there?" That is a B-Link. It is not. It is not. It is a B-Link, just a regular mini PC. Did that old Escort? Oh, the old Escort. I don't think so. I think it was just real basic rack and pinion. I don't think it had power steering. But it's what I learned in. And then my first car was a '74 Volkswagen Rabbit that was chartreuse green with brown interior and black panels. So it was like neon camouflage. Also, that was a 4-speed. And I actually taught my wife to drive a manual in that car when we were in high school. I drive diesel cars now, so I don't even need to use the throttle. That's absolutely right. They've got enough torque in them. Mac Mini wannabe, sorta. So you were 12 with no power and a stick. Impressive. Yeah, like again, it was '93. My dad's girlfriend taught me to drive manual. Look, I love it. I love being in control of the car. I love that most people can't borrow my car or my wife's car because we both drive manual. It's because you have to. Yeah, I think you have to be more in touch, more in tune with the car to drive a manual than just jumping in an automatic, putting it in drive and going. Here I am, even automatic is hard for me. Driving's not for me. And a lot of people are like that. Like a lot of people don't like to drive, but I've always grown up I spent a lot of time in places where I had to drive. I didn't really have a choice. So I think I've almost always had a car, and I've always preferred a manual transmission. I have a Ford Escort, 1994 Ford Escort convertible with a stick. That would be a lot of fun. I think that would be a really good time to drive. My wife taught me to drive a manual on a drive home from a college in Ithaca back to Long Island. That's cool. Yeah, we were dating back then. It was in a Isuzu Trooper 2. Those are fun. And no one can steal the car if it's manual, right? Matt says you missed your opportunity to flex your guns and say, here's your power steering and flex. Yeah, you can't even buy a new car manual here in Sweden. Manuals are on their way out. There's a whole like save the manuals movement. And I think it's important. I say that so many cars are moving to electric that it won't matter here in a little while as far as what manual transmissions won't even be a thing at that point. But I think while gas engines are a thing, I think we need to teach people to drive manual transmissions so that they can understand at least the basic mechanics of a vehicle before they get in and start driving around a 4,000-pound killing machine, because that's really what cars are. Yeah, I don't think manuals are going anywhere in Europe until everything is electric. Yeah, like I've been to Scotland twice, and basically everything there was manual, and I loved it. I loved seeing that. Oh, she's bringing me tea. Thank you so much. Tea. Soon all new cars in Norway will be electric. Probably a North American thing. Really appreciate the AI Love Robots updates. Denmark driving test is with a manual transmission. If you can't do that, you fail. It used to be that way here, and I'm sad that we've taken that away. I think it should be. I think it should be a requirement, at least until everything is electric. I think it should still be a requirement, again, so that you can be more aware of what's going on in your car, if nothing else. Like your videos, keep it up. Well, thanks, Dano. Appreciate you. Where I live, you get one for auto and one for manual. Yeah, and that's, I think that's what I was told about driver's licenses in the UK. That may not still be true, but it may have been back then. Where if you couldn't drive a manual transmission, you got a driver's license for automatic transmission cars only, which I thought was kind of an interesting differentiation. I look forward to for self-driving cars. Man, I don't know about all that. I've driven a couple of rentals and that sort of thing that have the lane assist and the adaptive cruise control and some of those real entry level type of things as far as some of the automation is concerned. And it's weird to get used to as a middle-aged as just a middle-aged dude. Like I've been doing everything manually for so long that just letting a car tell me no, we're going to put you on this side of the lane where I'm uncomfortable, right? It's weird. My wife won't even use cruise control. Like she hates automatic or ABS. Like she wants to be in full control of everything. Like she's even more anti self-driving car than I am. Here you have 2 licenses, one for auto only, and you're not allowed to drive a manual, and one for manual that allows you to drive manuals and automatics. I love that. I would not like to have a self-driving car. Their mistakes are deadly and accidents. They absolutely can be. There's been a lot. I've actually seen reports that Teslas are the most dangerous cars on the road right now, for any number of different reasons. Colin says, my Pilot has lane assist and adaptive cruise, which is really interesting. It was a novelty when I first got it, but I can't tell you the last time I actually used it. Yeah, I was back in Idaho years ago, and I borrowed somebody's car. We were at an event, and they're like, hey, you can take my car if you want to go do something else, because I was just in the town for like a long weekend. So I got in the car, off I went, pulled up to my first stoplight, and the car died, and I was like, what the hell? Because it was like a brand new car. I didn't realize they had that auto start stop thing. And for a brief moment, I was like, I had that pounding in my chest, the cold sweat, like my body went into freak out mode because I was like, what just happened? Because they didn't warn me that the car had the auto start stop. So that was fun to learn about. And then I found the button later that lets you turn that off, but you have to push that button every time you get in the car. It won't just stay that way. Duke says, I hate cruise as well, mostly because you forget that it's on and come up on something, you almost forget what to do. That's fair. Like one of the issues that I have with my car is that like if I've got cruise going and I'm cresting a hill, like it's compensating because it's got the drive-by-wire throttle. So there's no actual cable between the gas pedal and the throttle body like there used to be on older cars. So it's just all electronic. So it's compensating for me as I'm going up a hill, but then it doesn't decompensate when it hits the top of the hill. So like I'll maintain the speed up to like 50 all the way to the top of the hill, but then it's still compensating. And by the time I crest the hill, I'm doing like 80. So I gotta engage with it at that point. But I use cruise control more often than I should. I prefer cars 30 years old, so no assistant except ABS. Yeah, I don't necessarily want a new car. I like an older car. Like I'm happy with my 2010. If I could just stay in a 2010 forever, I'd be happy. But even at that point, they were making a lot of cars to just be throwaway cars, and that sucks. Like I would love to fix the transmission in my car, but it would mechanically total the car because I can't just fix the transmission. I have to replace it because that's how those transmissions work. Good public transport in Germany. I really didn't know it was good. My experience with European transport makes America look third world country. We've got about 5 train lines that cross the country in different ways, but most of that is for cargo. We don't have the public transport here that I saw in England and Scotland. Like we have buses that run real tight schedules, like, and only during certain parts of the day. It can be kind of expensive, relatively speaking. So our public transport, at least here in Colorado, is not great. It was worse in Idaho, but it's still not great here. Spoiled here, we have pretty solid public transport on Long Island and New York. Yeah, I wish we had something more like that here. It would make the city more manageable. But like in Colorado Springs, like you basically have to have a car. The town is so sprawling. The town, the city, the whatever is so sprawling that, like, for me to get to a doctor's appointment from my house, depending on what, like if I'm going to my sleep specialist, it's a half an hour drive north, because it's on the other side of town, and it would take me hours to get there on public transit. It's a nightmare. So you basically have to have a car if you live here, or you have to have everything delivered to you because the town is so spread out that trying to get things done is just a nightmare. Live in the Netherlands and I don't like it. I would go to the office by public transport. I need to travel an hour longer in total. Yeah, there's that too. The extra travel time on public transport can be a pain in the butt. Bus stop outside my house, but I still drive everywhere. Yeah, I get that. The thing about Tesla, article about the top accidents, full auto drive. 90%. Where I'm at in Oregon, we have a solid public transport. I need it as I don't drive, and that's good. I'm glad you've got that available. I wish more places made that a priority. But they don't. They don't. A lot of places don't think about the greater good, right? And I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but they don't think about how well people get to their doctor's appointments without a good public transport system. And when I say good, I don't just mean like trains or buses or whatever that run on a consistent schedule. I also mean affordable, because even if it was the best in the world, if it's not affordable, you can't use it. So there's a lot that goes into a good public transport system rather than just being available. Let's see. Heard you talk about a lack of inspiration. It's like finding a girlfriend. She's there when you stop looking. That's true. That's true. Honestly, that's what happened with the tablet video. I was like, I don't know what else to do. I'll try this. And I worked on the script for a few hours. I worked with AI for a couple more hours to help refine the script and tell the story in a more engaging way. And it worked out really well. Like, and I'm really happy with that. But yeah, inspiration will often come at the weirdest times. So now I'm trying to be more aware of those times. So, where? Man, really? Let's see. Nope. Sorry, just looking over here. That's actually a question I should ask you guys too. Sorry, I'm looking over here because this is where my YouTube studio is that I'm kind of monitoring the live stream on. Besides my actual streaming app down here, One of the things that YouTube has started doing recently is giving the option for vertical live streams to go along with, like the desktop live stream that I'm kind of doing now. Is there anyone here who might find benefit from having this also be a vertical live stream simultaneously? Like, are there any of you watching this on like your phone or something where a vertical layout would make more sense? I know that's kind of a weird question, but it's something that I can do now it's called dual streaming, and it says automatically generate a vertical cropped version for the shorts feed. And I don't know how that works necessarily. So I'd be curious if there's anybody here that would benefit from this also being streamed vertically. Mandy says the public transport options in the Netherlands are pretty expensive too, but most of the time it's good. That's good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm almost at the age where I get my old fart card and then free public transportation for me. Yay! Yeah, I'm still a ways off from that. Here it's 50% off if you're old or disabled. That's good. At least there's something there. A few weeks ago, I went through hell with public transport when leaving a concert to get home. The last train available broke down and I needed to improvise to get home. That sucks. Man, especially when you're relying on that and your last way to get home is a broken down train. That's rough. That'd be stressful. Oh, for the last stretch, I needed to ask my roommate for help. At least you had that option. Any new hardware or software on the horizon that you're looking forward to? That's a good question. Looking forward to the hardware that's out for delivery. Of course, I don't know when it'll be delivered, but I'm looking forward to that. Sorry, I'm just checking to see here. Nothing there. All right. Software that I'm looking forward to, hardware that I'm looking forward to. Man, I don't know. If I'm honest, I don't really pay attention to a lot of hardware out there for a couple of reasons. And part of it is because I don't like to... Man, I don't know how to word it. So I like these three mini PCs here may end up getting decommissioned here in the next week or so. Just because they're up and running for the video that I was hoping to release earlier this week. And I needed them up so I could go back and get B-roll off of them for the cluster that they're running, for the video that I made that I'm waiting to hear back on. So like for me, there's not... I don't really add a lot of new hardware or software, so I don't really pay attention to what's coming out most of the time. A lot of what I do is kind of by the seat of my pants, so to speak. I will find something, an app or a piece of software or something, and if it's something that intrigues me, I'll make a video about it. If it's not, I won't. I don't really get excited about hardware as much as I used to. So for a while, I was working with Minis Forum, and the guy that I was working with there switched jobs, and he told me that the person who was replacing him would get in touch with me, and it's been months, and I've heard nothing. Though other people in the community have already heard from this guy, and I haven't, and that kind of sucks, but it is what it is. I can't make them want to work with me. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I got an interesting email. Maybe I can float this by you guys. Let me see if I can find it. Just to give you an idea of some of the weird stuff I get here. This one. If I can get this email open. Come on, work with me here. Of course, I don't know why they sent it in a separate email. That's dumb. Nope. So, so these guys reached out to me. This Yes Soul or Ye Soul or whatever, and they do like exercise bikes with screens on them, or treadmills with screens on them, or rowers probably with screens on them. They reached out and they were like, "Hey, we'd really like to work with you." And I'm like, "Cool. I don't do this kind of content." And not only did they respond back, but they were like, "Here's a bunch of ways you could incorporate this. Showing how you review self-hosting dashboards or automations while staying active. Talking about home automation enthusiasts can integrate fitness into their smart home routines. Highlighting the health benefits of people who work in tech or sit for long periods. It doesn't have to be an athletic equipment review. It can simply be a lifestyle change or lifestyle angle connected to your tech-focused content." And I was like, it's such a weird approach to take. Yeah, they are kind of like a Peloton wannabe, I think. I've heard of these guys, but I've never used any of their stuff. I have damn, I can't think of who this is. I've got a walking pad in the other part of the house. Automate your exercise. That's hilarious. But I'm just like, I don't know if I've got room for any of this. Like, that'd be cool, I guess, if I could use the display as a monitor, like rather than just, I don't know if it would, right? Like there are so many questions that I would have. Let's see. Colin says, "If you want me to be honest, that is so far from your target audience, but might be worthwhile for a video or two just to get the gear." I mean, sort of, yeah. But like, I don't know. Let's see, what does this say? It actually looks like it works with Peloton, YouTube, Zwift, and KinaMap. But like, I don't know if I could, like, could I plug a laptop into this? Does it have an HDMI input? That like what are the options here that I can work with? Or does it only work with plugging my phone into it with those specific apps that I mentioned a second ago? Right? I'm curious, but I don't know where I would put this. Like, it's got a 21.5 1080p screen, free and unlimited mirroring. So there's that, I guess. I don't know, but I thought they were like real, like not pushy, but like real insistent that like this could work. And I'm like, whoa. But anyway, back to the point, like, I don't know if there's any hardware that I'm actually excited about at this point. And I think part of that is my fault, because I've, again, for so long pigeonholed myself into a certain type of content. I don't get the people reaching out to me that I thought would reach out to me, if that makes sense. I didn't expect an exercise cycling company to reach out to me to sponsor something. But it's weird. So I would love to, have certain companies reach out to me just to get the gear, right? But I'm not necessarily excited about anything. And I think partially because of the way prices have gone, right? Like $800 for 32 gigs of RAM is stupid, and it's going to get worse. So I don't know how much of my content I even want to focus on hardware, which I know isn't your question, but it's where my brain always goes. But I don't know how much of my content I want to focus on hardware, because the prices of everything are going to go up, because Micron is shutting down Crucial. Everybody is gearing most of their production for OpenAI and AI in general. Automate your exercise. Yeah, DB Tech exercise live stream, leotard required. It would get demonetized instantly. It wouldn't be a good look, at least on this side of the camera. I'm sure all of you are beautiful, immaculate looking people. Not this guy. Nobody wants to see me in a leotard. Let's brainstorm this. Does it require membership? I don't know. That's a good question. That's actually a really good question. Free and unlimited mirroring. I don't. Let's look together. Description. Quad speakers that deliver powerful bass and creating a fully engaging workout environment. Android phone requires DisplayPort support. So, like Nighthawk said, I could probably just plug in a laptop to that. Inconsistencies in data presentation are normal when viewing third-party software, as their data calculation logic may differ from ours. Requires downloading and registering a YesSoul Fitness app account. Free to register, no payment required. Magnetic resistance, rotate for more. Stretching, okay. Vented comfortable seat, that's good. 1-year warranty. It says that it requires an app, but no payment. So, who knows? Put it in the garage. I'm in my garage. Like half of my garage is this room, and the other half is packed. Time to make an AI robot to test the gear. People power your home assistant, right? That would be fun to put some sort of a generator on there and see how much power I could actually generate from it. I think it's like a mirroring type thing that you could possibly use USB-C. It has display out or alt display. Yeah, and I think we covered that. It says DisplayPort Type-C HDMI. So probably I could just make it one of my displays. That might work. You did, well, Miss DB Tech was here. I did get my tea. She kind of like stepped in from the side over there. She's not real keen on being necessarily on film or on camera as much as I am, or as much as the kid is. The kid loves to see himself on the screen. But yeah, I got some tea. Feeling pretty good about that. Love your tea. Yeah, the Ninja Turtles. Yeah, my wife and I got a thing about the cup has to be fun and it's got to be big. We don't like the tiny coffee cups. Just don't even bother me with that. Oh man, let's see. Take a look at the Rogue Ally X. I would love to have a portable gaming system like that, whether it's the Rogue or whatever. I would love to have something powerful like that. Would really make things great. But the problem is I don't ever really leave the house enough or often enough to make it make sense. But we don't travel very much, again, partially because of the kid. And it's not to throw him under the bus. He does really well in car trips, but he doesn't do well being away from home outside of his little comfort zone for very long. So we don't travel much. Or the other time that it would be useful is I was in the hospital, and I'm trying to avoid that too. So that's what I was getting at. So I'd love to have a handheld device like that, but it would sit in its little carrying case for the most part. Let's see. Do you have any app that you use for your? Do you want to monitor? App to use for your son? Sorry, tell us. I need more clarification on your question. Do you have any app that you use for your son? You want to monitor access from Home Assistant? I'm not sure I understand your question. I use fully kiosk on a tablet in his room that only allows him to access Home Assistant. So I'm not sure what your question is. Yeah, they'll get you to pay when you want to use a specific setting. Place where has machines like that in the gym. The app is free until you want to emulate a mountain climb, for example. Yeah, and that's actually one of the things that I noticed on on one of these damned. Yeah, so like they've got this right, and I don't know how these would integrate with the actual cycle itself, or I don't even know if they want to send me a cycle or a treadmill. I asked him, I was like, you bring up some valid points. What are you thinking? I actually asked him that. So I'm waiting to hear more. You need to get the bike and install Docker on it. That'd be hilarious. Just gave myself a great idea for YouTube videos. 12 days of Docker. It's an interesting idea. I'd be interested in more information. Mike Godin says, hi from Portugal. Hi, thanks for joining. Appreciate seeing you here. Hope you're doing well. We use it so your partner can watch TV. Mine run the same. But can it run Doom? Dude, probably. I've seen some crazy things run Doom. Like, I've seen some crazy small, super low powered things run Doom. But it'd be funny. The problem is that I'm not that guy, right? And I think the display is just a display. I think it requires a third-party interface, whether it's your phone, again, with these apps, whether it's KinoMap or Zwift or YouTube or Peloton. A receipt printer can run Doom. I think somebody shared that in Discord the other day of that. I thought that was pretty funny. But I don't know how the resistance works with these apps, those sorts of things. But again, I'm still waiting to hear back to see what they had in mind. Because like, I've already got a treadmill that I need to get back into using. I've been real lazy the last little bit. And I don't know that I have room for a bike unless I set it up here and raised this desk and sat here and cycled while we did a live stream. And I would just have to I would have to pedal. I don't know. I don't know. But again, I'm waiting to hear back. I'm curious about what their offer actually is, because they might have a very different idea as far as what's going on there. But yeah, so we'll see. But I'm hoping again that once this hardware, I've got a lot of things I want to do, right? As far as content is concerned, like the new Plex thing, I think I want to actually do a video where I talk about some of the consolidation that I'm going to be working on for the next little bit, as far as my automations are concerned. Like Nighthawk was saying, kind of streamlining everything. I need to learn more of that. And I think that's going to be kind of a big push for me over the next little bit. And I think that would make some good content once I get my head wrapped around it a little bit better. But I think my videos need to start focusing more on, rather than just here's some information, thanks for watching, see you later, to here's a problem I ran into that you might also have. And here's the process that I ran into, or that I went through to help remedy this situation. My content needs to be more of that, and I think that's where I've been dropping the ball for a long time. I genuinely think that's been a problem for me for a while, and I think as I'm going through some of this, I'm going to try to keep tabs on some of the issues that I run into and how I fixed them, and hopefully make some content about those sorts of things, because they just. Here's something, thanks for watching, see you later, doesn't work, or doesn't work frequently. Got a video on my feed of a guy that managed to run Doom on a small UniFi 24 port. Wow, that's cool. My brother uses a CPAP that's not supported Home Assistant, and I asked them to give an API that I can create a Home Assistant plugin to. Do you have something similar you can ask? Then I've got a CPAP or BiPAP. I've got a BiPAP. I remember CPAP is constant pressure. BiPAP is dual pressure. So I don't know if I necessarily want to incorporate that into Home Assistant. I don't know. I've also thought about doing. Of course, I don't have them out here. They're in the living room. I thought about doing some things with like an ESP32. My wife and I both wear smartwatches, and it would be cool if, I could set it up so like if she walks into the bedroom, then like the lights turn on green because that's her favorite color, right? Or if I walk in, the lights light up blue because that's my favorite color. I think it would be fun to do some of that sort of thing. Do some geofencing with my phone. I think that would be fun in Home Assistant if I could figure out how to do some of that, so that, like, if we're both out of the house, then it makes sure that the bedroom lights are off, the studio lights are off, the whatever, right? I'd like to learn to do some geofencing. I think that would be fun to learn. That could make some good content. So lots of different things out there that I would like to learn. But I'm just kind of taking it one project at a time. Yeah, mine is a ResMed. Yeah, it is a ResMed. They're I think one of the more popular ones out there. And it works real well for me. It changed my life in like 48 hours. But ResMed's super popular in that arena. Let's see. So I don't know. I'm sure there'll be lots more content coming. And I think I can open myself up to more content ideas now that I've kind of had this new epiphany. That was kind of a no kidding, like you should have thought about that years ago. But I think I was just dealing with bad mental health and just kind of put my nose down. Was like, I'm just going to trudge through this until. And I think I'm to that point where I can start working on some other things. And I think some different content ideas, some different content styles, some more, not necessarily vlog stuff, but more, I had this problem, here's how I fixed it, let me know what you think kind of stuff. Because that's basically what like Techno Tim does. He doesn't really do tutorial stuff as much. And his content always does really well. So I think I'm gonna do at least a partial shift in my content to more of that. I liked your glance video. Do you still rock it? I don't. I should though. Like I have a dashboard that I haven't touched in so long, and I actually really liked Glance because it had kind of the RSS feed built into it. Excuse me. And I think that would be something cool to go back and reevaluate. There are some other apps, or there are some apps that I made videos about in the past that I do need to revisit as well. But I should probably take another look at Glance at some point. I don't remember the last time I looked at it. June of 2024. Huh. Yeah, no, I really should go back and take another look at Glance because it was good. Love your new style. Love as you help me, I'll help you. Yeah. Asus Ally X is a bit interesting with a dock, so it can be booted up for other purposes via Home Assistant. 16 threads, 24 gigs of RAM, Windows 11, no ads, just testing. Huh. Yeah, again, I'd love to have one of those handhelds, but it doesn't make sense for me to buy one at the price they are, because I wouldn't get any use out of it, and I don't know that it would make sense for a company to send me one, because it's not my content style. This. Home is where the Wi-Fi connects automatically. I actually need to move, or I want to redo some of this. Oops. That's pretty close. There we go. I use Glance with a homepage integrated into a tab. I actually used to do that with Organizer. Organizer was one that I really liked a lot too. Number one stole my Steam Deck, so I set up a Steam family share so they can game on it, stuff that they can't play on the Xbox. That's cool. I need to set my wife's account and my account back up so that we're back on a family thing, so that we can share each other's libraries. Because I know for a while, like, they were real strict about that. Steam was like, if she was playing a game in her library, I couldn't play any game in her library because she was actively using her library. And I guess they've kind of gone more lenient with that. But she's got some games that I'd really like to play. And I think I've got some that she'd like to play. So I should really look at that again. Plans for Christmas. We're going to be right here. Again, we're not going to travel. Well, I don't know that I trust airplanes at this point. With the kid being kind of a homebody and being uncomfortable outside of his home. We do holidays here. Our other kid lives literally next door on the other side of this blue wall. Like their garage is on the other side of this wall. And then I don't know who else is going to come visit. Like, we may have some guests, but it'll probably be a fairly small get together. And I kind of prefer it that way. Like I used to do big family get-togethers when I still lived in Idaho, and I always felt out of place. Like I don't like large gatherings. I get overwhelmed. Like 10 people I can deal with. 15 people is kind of iffy. More than that, I get uncomfortable. But especially when it's family. Like if I'm at a bar, a club, or whatever, it's whatever. I don't care. But when it's a lot of people that I know, sometimes I get overwhelmed because I want to talk to different people and I'm trying to manage. Let's see. Can't play the same game at the same time, right? But you can play other games in the same account, and that was the issue that I used to have, or that Steam used to have, I guess, is that if they wanted to play a game in their library, it would kick you out of their entire library. Or maybe I configured it wrong back then. I don't know. Use Moonlight so I can play on any computer in the house. I actually use just the Steam app. I can remote stream from there. In fact, I even in the Alaris video that I did, they changed it recently. Okay, that's I'm glad it wasn't just me then. But like in the Alaris video that I did recently, I showed Cyberpunk 2077 running at like 70 frames on my phone because I was remote streaming it from the Alaris, using the Alaris as a Steam machine basically, and it worked really well. I was really happy with it. But now I have other plans for that device. So yeah, that's what's going on there. All right, let's over here. Yeah. All right, guys. I think it's going to be. I'm going to start wrapping this up here in a minute. I getting hungry. Throat's starting to go a little wonky on me. Like I'm feeling better than I did last week, but still not 100%. And I can feel the tingle in the back of my throat starting to build up on me. And I need to go completely rebuild my thing in there. So yeah, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. I know we only looked at a couple of things in my Home Assistant, but it kind of shows you the disaster that is my current automations. Like I've got all of these different automations, and I know I can streamline those a bit. So yeah. I'm going to be working on that. Maybe make some content about that. Collins brings up a good point. Don't forget to like the stream if you didn't already. Below this stream, I believe there's a link to some merch. If you want to check that out, I'm actually thinking about running another sale, just to make things a bit more affordable. Is it showing up? There is no merch under there. I'll be damned. I expected there would be merch down there. Oops, let me do this. Man, I can't think of the name of it. Oh well, whatever. Go find the shop if you want to take a look at that. Should have gotten it and sold it on eBay. Yeah, it's like there's not even a serial number on it. There's no FCC approval on it. Like it is. But anyway, I'm gonna go do some stuff with that, and and probably then start working on optimizing some of my automations to make them more or less, I guess, less intrusive on my screen here, a bit more better, you know? So again, thank you guys for spending part of your Saturday with me. I really appreciate you. Thank you to everybody who donated gift memberships. You guys rock. Thank you so much for that. One of these days here real soon, I'm going to update this with all of the new information that I've been unfortunately forgetting about for the last month. I'm going to get that updated. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Probably a couple of videos this week if things go well. And if not, we'll see you next Saturday for another stream to hang out and talk about whatever happens to be going on. So have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.